The movie went through a gigantic evolution from a screenplay that Swami Kriyananda originally wrote to my feeling that the story of Ananda was so vast it needed to be told in a documentary, to our executive producer, Roberto Bessi, saying, no, we need someone who we can follow through the story. So I would have to credit him for kind of pushing that idea through. And then ultimately it was sort of, I came to Ananda as an outsider too, at the beginning of this project. And so I experienced and tried to let Juliet experience things in kind of the same way I did, and the challenges to her own way of thinking in the same way that it kind of affected me when I first came there.
And just jumping off from that, one of the things that I wanted to ask you, and maybe some of you have the same question, is that at the end of the film we see that Juliet has experienced her own transformation and thanks the members of the community, and we see a change in her. Did you feel anything akin to that sort of experience, and how do you feel changed by having directed this film? You all had this question too, right?
Yeah.
I guess for me, coming to the village and meeting everybody, and I felt so comfortable with Shivani and with Jyotish and Devi and with Swami Kriyananda, made me, I guess I always have said that I came here to this movie as a person that didn't identify myself as spiritual, and maybe I learned from Swami that the way I live my life, which is basically according to all the spiritual principles of Dharma and Karma and all of that, naturally, so maybe I am spiritual and I didn't even know it.
Yes.
I came here with a friend. I had no idea what I was coming to. Nothing about Ananda, but I've been to India 4 times for work purposes, and I've seen his face around, and wow, I learned a lot today, and it was really, really touching. I've studied Kabbalah for 10 years, and it's very similar in principles, but the harmony in the community just was really, really inspiring for sure. And thank you for the movie.
I've seen the movie mostly with Ananda audiences, and I was curious how it would affect people that were not already on that path.
I think there was a question. Yes.
Ted, how did you become associated with the movie? How did they come about that they chose you as the director?
Ted, how did you get connected with this film as a director?
Swami Kriyananda, I guess, had met Roberto Bessi years ago, and when Swami decided he wanted to branch out into trying to spread his message through cinema, got in touch with Roberto. And Roberto, knowing my personality, thought that maybe I would be a good fit for them. So that's kind of how I came to it. And I had to go through a lot of tests with Shivani and a lot of meetings before I got to finally meet Swami.
So maybe that's also a hallmark of the spiritual life you didn't know where you were on, is that sense of all of the tests and the meetings and everything. Yes, and back.
With Swami Kriyananda's passing, does he have a successor that will carry on the lineage?
So the question was, with Swami Kriyananda's passing, is there a successor that will carry on the teachings of the community?
Yes, Swami Kriyananda chose a successor about 20 years ago, and it was the first man who was interviewed with his wife, Jyotish Novak, and he is now the spiritual director. He had been serving in the capacity of the director for our worldwide work for a long, long time. So we could say that Swami left everything in place, as well as spiritual directors for all of the different communities around the world. So Jyotish has taken on Swami Kriyananda's role now. He's traveling around the world at the moment with his wife, Devi. He's in India. He just left Italy. He'll be coming back to this country and carrying on in that tradition. So Swami was always very careful about providing not only a secure environment, but also a legacy that will go forward.
Well, I think one of the greatest legacies that we definitely see in the film is that sense of strong community, not just in one location, but in many places around the world, and the power and the example of that, which is something that gives us great hope. Yes?
I've been to Ananda a couple times because my sister lives there and she was a goat farmer in the film. She wanted me to come tonight, so I'm lucky I live right in Culver City. And she's gonna be so excited when I tell her when she did her call and the goats ran down, and everyone got so excited. I understand a little bit more why she fell in love. She went up for a yoga retreat because she lived in San Diego, well, close to San Diego, and fell in love with it, and then changed her whole life by moving up and living there. So I think it was a wonderful movie, and it helps me understand my sister a little bit.
It's amazing how when we begin to change from the inside, our whole world changes. You know, we don't have to change it from the outside. That's going to take care of itself. But when we change, our whole world changes. I think we have time just for one more question, and then there's another film that's going to be shown here.
Yeah, so go ahead.
You were talking about the legacy of the Ananda community. What are you doing to spread the concept of the ideal of that type of community around the world? And what places in other nations are you landing?
So the question is, how are we spreading the concept of communities around the world? One thing, we're doing many things, and of course we have established communities as examples, as models, not expecting that people will follow the model, but will take inspiration. And there are now programs that are offered in many of the Ananda communities, especially at the one that you have seen, the one in Laurelwood in Oregon, and the one in Italy are 3 rural communities. In community living skills, programs where people can come and learn and study and experience for between 1 and 3 months, or a year, 2 years, or 3 years. Learn the skills of what makes it possible to live in community, about finding harmony within ourselves, harmony with each other, harmony with God, and harmony with nature, and how that translates into very practical things. And then from these programs, the hope is that people will go out wherever they're going to go, wherever they feel inspired or called to go, and found communities. And in this way, that Yogananda's prophecy will be fulfilled, because he said the spiritual community movement, which he called World Brotherhood Communities, will spread like wildfire, and they will cover the face of this earth. That was his prediction.
And I think as you've all spoken about, you know, Swami Kriyananda's interest in even sharing the story through film, and how film is such a powerful way to tell the story. It allows people to have an introduction to that concept that maybe would inspire them to check out some of these programs. So I think that this is a powerful example of that, and for people who are new to some of these ideas, or now understand, you know, their family members, or just a kind of a new thought process. And at the table there are copies of the DVD for sale and the new book, so that you can take this home, and whenever you need a hit of inspiration or to share it with your friends or anything like that, it is available. So please do, you know, stop by the table, or you can also take it home on a t-shirt.
We have
And the 10 tips for happiness on the chairs.
Mm-hmm. And we have a wonderful website that's a resource, Finding Happiness Movie, Nicolau.com, and there's a new section called Continue the Journey. And when you open up that page, there's hundreds of ways that you can continue your journey, where you are right now. Just as Juliet at the end of the movie, you know, she didn't give everything up and move to a community. She went back to her job, to her home, and just with a new look and a new understanding. So those resources are there for you. And very soon, this film is going to be available all over the internet. It's going to be available through Facebook. It's going to be on Amazon and Netflix and iTunes. And all of you, if you like, you will be able to place this film on your own Facebook, on your website, by a new technology that's been developed, a player called Yekra. And you can become a happiness affiliate. And when people come to your website, there can be a little thing that says, find happiness, watch it now. So in about a couple weeks, that's going to be available. So I hope many of you will feel inspired to become Happy Next Channel.